Welcome to the Tech Trends Podcast, where we discuss the latest manufacturing, technology, research, and news. Today's episode is sponsored by Modern Machine Shop, Made in the USA Podcast. Hi, guys.
Hello.
What's
How's
up?
everyone doing? Let's get right into some articles. Elissa, you got something from IBM, which is a blast from the past. IBM hasn't been super relevant, but they got some stuff going on.
First computer was an IBM.
Yeah,
Yours?
I mean...
Or just in general?
My dad brought it home from work.
You stole property?
He stole property. I mean, they were getting rid of them.
Yeah.
It had a CRT screen that was blue with white lettering.
Mm-hmm.
We all see in movies and
It's like
media
green.
that it's like black
Yeah.
with green or white text,
Yeah.
like command prompt. This was blue with white.
Interesting. I guess that makes sense because that's their colors, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Well, that's good
man.
branding.
I always, whenever I think of IBM, I always think of Jeopardy, where they went up against the IBM computer.
The Watson.
Yeah, and they lost.
And they lost.
They did.
Let's
Spoiler
put that
alert.
in there.
The now host,
that in there like
the now host of Jeopardy, Ken Jennings, lost to Watson. I just want to put that out there.
Wow.
Okay, but yes, IBM, they've secured a patent for a 4D printed smart material. And it is, so according to the patent, these smart materials can use shape memory alloys or polymers that respond to external forces like temperature, light, magnetism, or electrical currents. So like after being deformed, the materials will return to its original shape.
It's interesting because
Metamaterials and non-Newtonian materials.
it's a term we've been thinking about for the past like 4 or 5 years of these materials that can react and then go back to the original shape. Smart materials or metamaterials. Metamaterials is kind of faded a little bit, I think.
So is a 4D printed part a part that is never near net shape?
It's never correct. Actually, that's a fair point. I think 4D might be the new term that we're probably going to use for these materials going forward.
So it says the design allows for delivery of microparticles between 1 and 100 microns in diameter.
Oh, interesting.
That's sick.
It can control methods different control methods mean it can travel through various media, making it useful for medical and industrial applications.
Interesting.
Yeah.
In our last committee meeting, the material sciences came up as particularly the computation required to like experiment with materials. Being able to predict, on a screen or in a digital environment of new materials. So this kind of extends where we're headed, and I think in terms of material sciences, where there's a lot going on for materials. I think we're going to see not quite Star Trek levels of innovations the next couple of years, but a lot of innovation on either custom materials or how we apply materials.
Like Big Hero 6 level.
Big Hero 6. Yeah, exactly.
I want to highlight real quick what you said earlier, because I think that was really insightful. That I think 4D is the new term for non-Newtonian or metamaterial.
I think so.
Probably because of branding issues with meta, and non-Newtonian goes very anti-science, and this is science. I like that.
Yeah. So IBM working to become relevant again, I guess.
Very cool.
Good on them.
Bring Watson back on Jeopardy.
I want to brag for a little bit. We were AMT was the early adopters of Watson. We developed the Tech Trends app to help ingest research papers, and we used Watson to consolidate a full research paper into keywords, concepts, and apps and summaries. So we shoved all of our papers through Watson back then. So we understand financial models of doing these type of transactions. So we took NSF, we took NIST, shoved in like 200,000 papers through Watson and paid like $1,000.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a great point. We should look back into IBM and see what they're up to.
No.
Oh.
They're patenting the
No, and I was
4D.
going to say thanks for sharing. This is amazing.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, so the machine learning algorithm controls the printer material to transport microparticles practically anywhere.
One thing that IBM can't solve is daylight savings time.
Oh my God.
Why are we still suffering through that?
It makes me want to move to Arizona because they don't do it.
They don't do it.
They don't do it.
That's cool.
It
I'm
happens
jealous.
twice a year,
Yeah.
and still every time I'm like, what's happening? Why does my entire nervous system feel completely out of whack?
Yeah.
It's
so much work.
My wife and I had an
draining.
existential crisis because we didn't know it was coming this past weekend. And while there's never like a news announcement, there's never a notification, make your phone go bleep, bleep, like an Amber Alert or anything. Hey, daylight savings time is coming.
Amber Alert.
There should be one. But usually we hear from like a friend, and it's not that we're like, I mean, we are a bit hermit-like. We are a bit like recluses, but we do talk to people, and nobody knew.
no.
Nobody knew daylight savings time was coming this weekend.
The only reason I knew about it is because I was listening to WTOP, the radio station, which I do listen to radio, like over-the-air radio once in a while.
That's crazy.
I saw it like on Facebook.
Is that on Facebook?
Yeah, that's what. And then I looked at my calendar on my phone, and it said daylight savings time. I was like, oh man. Like for me, I love the one in the fall where we get an extra hour of sleep.
yeah.
But this one in the spring, people are like, oh, it's great because the trade-off is you get a longer, you get more sun during the day. And I'm like, yeah, but I like sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For people who like to take midday naps, this is actually the worst time.
Yes.
Because now it's super bright at like my perfect nap time.
Yes.
Which is like 5:30 or 6.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't. The sun. This is too much.
See, you about to say something?
I was going to say something about sleep. How come sleeping in is lazy, but going to bed early isn't? It's just a time shift.
Well, because I think it's the difference of like
It's confused.
I think people would argue that it's the difference between, and I'm not saying I would argue this because I love sleeping in, but it's the difference between like sleeping the day away and getting a head start on your day.
The best sleep I get is when I wake up. So my routine's really weird right now because I wake up, have a little cup of coffee, get Amelia up at 6:10. She continues sleeping. And then I have about 10 more minutes where I wake her up again at 6:20, and then she actually starts her day.
Real.
That little 10-minute in between the first and second wake up with her is like the best sleep I ever get.
Yeah.
That re-sleep in the morning is good.
That's
I'm going to put my libertarian hat on real quick and just say it sounds like daylight savings time is about control.
Well, it is an outdated form. It has to do with farming, just like school days and work days. All
Respect the
revolve
farmers.
around old school
built on the back
farming
of child
schedules.
labor.
Speaking of outdated stuff, I want to talk about hot dog standards.
I want to talk about hot dog standards. So, like, okay, you're going home from work, you're tired. May have been a good day, may have been a bad day. You want a quick bite, you want comfort food, and you want minimal effort. Boiling a hot dog and beer, hot dogs in beer, and then throwing them on the grill. Anyway, I like that as a hot dog consumer and purchaser at the grocery store, I like that the packages of buns are now relatively the same quantity as the package of dogs.
Right.
Like it's nice, 8 and 8. No difficult math to do.
Right.
Stuff like that. But it's 2025. We've got all this modern manufacturing and all of these standards in place. Why are the dogs still not the full length of the bun? You can get longer than the bun and you can get shorter than the bun.
But it never is correct.
That's, yeah.
Because you fill up on the bun.
Where is ANSI and ISO on this?
We should talk
Brat's the same way.
to IBM. That's what they should be doing.
Yeah.
Getting in the hot dog ISO standards.
Yeah, getting in the hot dog
Yeah.
game. Yeah, I mean,
we all know that like hot dog buns are better for brats too, even though the IDs and ODs don't match up. But I just like I don't want just a mouthful of bread and condiment.
you don't like bread and ketchup?
I need the
just by itself.
The broat. Please.
Man,
All right, I'm done.
I loved. Man, I grew up. Like, I ate so many hot dogs growing up because they were cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like everyone knows, I have a very large family. So, and my mom said that like apparently when she was pregnant with me, she ate a lot of hot dogs. Like that's what she was craving the most.
Yeah.
And then as a child, that's what she would make it. Like I'd get home from school and she'd like boil a hot dog and like cut it up, and that was my snack when I
Yeah.
got home from school.
Like
It's-
ketchup and mustard. That was my dad. My dad.
Growing up, we had the
Yes.
hot dog like 10 different ways. We would boil it, or we would chop it up and saute it.
Yeah.
Put it on
Beanie
pizzas.
weenies?
Dude,
Yeah.
beanie weenies. Throw a can
I don't know
of
these
baked
words.
beans in a pot, cut up some hot dogs, and
Yep.
throw them in there. Beanie weenies.
They were really good at
Every
mac
day.
and cheese too.
Oh.
solid
no.
in mac and cheese.
Yeah.
I think it's
no.
I'm drawing the line right there at putting a hot dog in my mac and cheese. Please.
That's fair because I don't actually think I've ever put it in the mac and cheese, but I've had it alongside.
Okay, that's fair.
Oh, you
That's
never
a
like-
solid like barbecue staple.
Makes it an American meal.
Yeah,
know,
grill
it's
your
part
hot
of this
dogs,
complete
make some
breakfast.
Kraft mac and cheese. June through August, that's what hits. But
Speaking
don't
of-
mix them together.
Speaking of American meals, Maria, can you tell us about today's sponsor?
Hot dogs.
That was really good. We're sponsored by what's the hot dog? Never mind.
Hebrew National.
I don't know. I was gonna say Portillo's.
Sabre, Portillo.
Yeah.
How could we leave out Chicago?
That's what I was thinking. Anyway, let me just read this thing. Tune in for Modern Machine Shop's Made in the USA podcast to explore manufacturing issues faced by companies making an intentional choice to manufacture in the U.S. Featuring commentary from OEM leaders, Made in the USA blends its nearly century-long expertise with a unique audio storytelling experience to shine a spotlight on the past, present, and future of American manufacturing. Find Made in the USA on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms. Follow Modern Machine Shop on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn.
One of the best part about today's episode are my transitions.
No, you're killing it. Absolutely killing it.
I really like my article that I found because I want to tell a robot what to do for once. So I found an article. Actually, I think Steve found this on the on our industry news posted there.
It's going to be a solid write-up on it in the tech report.
From Tech Explorer. A framework allows a person to correct robots' actions using kind of feedback they would give another human. So this is a joint project with MIT and NVIDIA where you could correct a robot's behavior with similar actions. So the concept would be you're on the floor with the robot. You're actually near the robot itself, so assuming collaborative robots. The method would be, just giving it a little nudge. Like if someone's welding or if like another human's doing something, most of the time you could visually or verbally correct them or give them different directions. But sometimes you just have to point to the different thing or move it a little bit. So this is very similar where they have a framework for correcting a robot and the robot inferring that information and doing that task based on that correction. Some interesting stats. So they said they improved the success rate was 21% higher than alternative methods, not using human intervention. And they bring up a really interesting point where some of this is kind of related to both the technology of the robot inferring this information and applying it, and the physical side of it of being able to take that information. But also the policies related to setting rules and applying these different scenarios. Because one thing they talked about is, robot programming, you can give it a set of boundaries, and the program will say, this is a valid path. But just because it's valid doesn't mean it's the best path. And I think that's with the kind of iteration that the article...
Or free from collisions.
Or free from collisions, right? There's always going to be something where it's not part of the environment or the digital environment, right? So it's a very interesting thought process where they're like, don't retrain the AI model built to develop the path, train it in the scenario. Because it's too much labor. It's not feasible to retrain the AI model or machine learning model that developed that path.
Absolutely. I think it's just so cool that they're talking about you can change the code of your robot program just by you can whip up a quick base code and hopefully it's close enough to what you need and then hit go at a slower speed, and as it's going, I guess you can engage a teach mode or an active teach mode. So it's doing what it's doing or what it thinks it's supposed to be doing, and you gently correct it along the way. That is so cool. I love that. And I think what this article really highlights the most is how that this is the next step in transitioning from programming machines and robots from a line by line or just a hard coding programming method to being directly involved, in some cases physically involved with programming your device. It's so cool. And I love this. I don't want to use computers.
It reinforces the current trend of making the human to machine interfaces more conversational, more applicable to how humans work. Because if you go back a bunch of years ago, learning a language to do something is a little not the best way to implement manufacturing technology. So this gets us more to rapid innovations on the floor. So
I think it would also be super cool if you could e-stop a robot, just go hep, 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 hep.
I'm just thinking of I don't know, when it's talking about training, I picture a Major Payne type character yelling at the robot. I know that's not what it's like.
He ain't dead, but he ain't happy.
I could imagine something similar, but for some reason my mind went to baseball.
Oh yeah,
get it, and then he smacks the robot on the butt.
And the robot,
good job.
There's no crying in manufacturing.
That's such a good
and the robot turns towards you. Excuse me, do not touch my joint. That is my joint one, and it's a no-no zone.
Steve, tell me about Sony's AI. I know you've been doing that experiment with Gran Turismo. I want to learn more about it.
Yeah, so now that I'm playing Gran Turismo all the time and I can't shut up about it, I did notice that what I thought was this like gimmick that Gran Turismo was advertising, Sony's Sophie AI in the game. And the reward, the payout, like the credits that you receive in game aren't very high, but I like dabbling with stuff once I've completed all of the races that I want to complete. I was like, let's experiment with let's see what this Sophie AI is all about. And at first, I didn't really notice much, but everybody knows how bad the general computer opponents are in Gran Turismo. Like, there's some. It grades on a curve. Like, if you put down a really solid lap time and are far ahead of the AI, it tries to like keep up with you. And in some cases, as you approach the end of the race, all of a sudden the computer players behind you start putting down like killer lap times and they just like take a steaming dump on your fastest lap and beat it by like 2.5 seconds. And it was like, well, where was this at the beginning of the race?
Right.
If you are doing this now, I shouldn't even be touching first position. They have since changed it because it used to be on an algorithm where they tell the computer opponent what the best driving line is around the track, and this is the car you have. They program the computer to the car and just go, and we slow down the lap time or speed it up depending on the difficulty that you choose. And there's some variability to how good of a racer the player is. That it adjusts it on the fly. The AI is entirely new. They don't have any programming on the AI in the game. All they give the AI is the track boundaries, where's off track, where's on track, you know, like the left side, the right side, and where the other cars are, and the performance of the car that is given to the Sophie AI. And they've gone through several iterations, and they've been some hits and misses here. There's some. It got to a point where the AI was learning the track on its own and just putting down insane lap times that nobody could touch, and it was regularly happening. There's a lot of players online who if they manage to start ahead of the AI, they can keep the AI behind them because the AI's primary focus is sportsmanship, not taking out other cars. If you can stay in front of the AI, or if you start in front of the AI, you can finagle your way to stay in front of it. But if it gets ahead of you, the AI outbrakes you every time.
Right.
It always knows the optimal braking zone. It has complete control of the brakes. So where you're leaning on ABS or you're constantly locking up the brakes and fluctuating the brake pedal on your own, it knows the perfect limit of the brakes in any situation. Right. You cannot outbrake the AI. I want AI-enabled brakes, by the way. And then, you know, that was. I think I'm tapped out on it. Like, yeah, it's just so cool.
It's interesting you mentioned this. I would say about 7 years ago, DARPA actually did a test where they were testing humanoid robots to like basically walk a path, very similar to your scenario, where it's like these are boundaries, go do a task. But it was more of like instructional tasks that were given to it and how to figure it out. So it had to figure out how to walk, but also stay within the boundaries. So this is one of the previous iterations before Atlas and all that Boston Dynamic robots. But it was very similar where the early iterations, the robot would topple over or they would get stuck in a loop and they wouldn't know what to do. But there was, it would learn pretty quickly that like 1 or 2 iterations in the competition later on, where it was able to actually execute a lot of these things. I feel like this is a very similar application where in the digital world, it's able to iterate very quickly to get to something fairly useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The really cool thing about the Sophie AI is also because they put such an emphasis on the AI sportsmanship. I remember the other thing I want to say now. But because they focus on the sportsmanship so much, it's really optimized how good the AI is at navigating slower traffic.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the way it dips and dodges and weaves in and out of traffic to get around slower cars is brilliant. It's so well done. But it also made me remember that, like, one of the iterations of the Sophie AI was so good. The AI learned how to handle the cars so well and was getting so fast with literally inhuman speeds, lap times, that you would watch like the race replay, and focus on the AI to see what it's doing. All four wheels are smoking the entire time. They have since changed that by implementing the tire wear on the AI to keep it from like nuking its tires within the first couple of laps. But also, because of that, they also realized that they used the AI to find broken areas in their physics algorithms.
Oh, that's cool.
So there were some issues with the suspension tuning that they found through the AI being able to put down like the optimal lap times.
I think the biggest thing I really like are the boundaries that they set up. Like this concept of the sportsmanship in their agent is really interesting. I mean, that's come up quite a bit in some of our committees about like being able to enter certain markets and kind of the boundaries those companies set and in terms of where they're allowed to go.
Yeah.
I think putting those boundaries on AI agents in terms of don't do this thing or allow it to do more.
That's a good point. I overall just like the sportsmanship concept that Gran Turismo has, because if you are a trash player, like not bad, but like bad to other people, like if you're dive bombing corners and like purposely missing your braking zones just to rely on crashing into other cars to let them help you around a corner, like they're going to give you a really bad sportsmanship score, and they're going to make you play with other trash players. But if you're really good and you never contact other players and you're happy sacrificing a few positions, you're going to play with other kind, non-trash people. It's really cool how they separate. Like, it's an interesting, like, it's a classist system that I totally support.
Awesome.
I don't think I understand how you play Gran Turismo.
I don't.
This entire conversation, I was like, yes. And then I was like, no.
Racing.
The idea is you're supposed to play it like it's your actual car.
But
Would you like crash into other people or like purposely crash into like a speedway wall to go around a corner? No, you're going to have to pay for that.
I think I got lost when you were talking about traffic, because it's.
So if there's slower cars on the track, or if there's multiple classes of cars, like a GT class versus a prototype class on the same race, the prototypes have to weave around the slower cars because eventually they get lapped.
Okay.
And that is an aspect of actual endurance racing that's really fun.
But you're not playing like on a controller.
I play on a controller because I'm poor.
You can buy a
But
steering
you can
wheel.
have one of those.
I don't
like,
have one of those rigs.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I was
man.
confused when you were like braking, and I was like, are you like sitting, you know, like you play in like not the amusement parks, but like the game rooms or whatever.
Arcades.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just imagining you in like an arcade like booth, just like braking and driving.
Next time, we'll work on that.
Yeah.
I'm picturing that movie Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah.
You see that movie? Yeah.
I love that
That's what I'm
movie.
thinking.
And I've
of.
also seen the Gran Turismo movie, so I'm expecting you to be like that guy who's like.
Yes, that is the.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's me.
I love that.
Rubio, where can they find more info about us?
techtrends.amtonline.org.
Nice.
I'm glad we got that right now.
I didn't even know it. Good job.
Ben.
Oh, everybody. I love those meetings.
And don't forget, like, share, subscribe.
That's right. Oh, we should have said it earlier. Bing
Bing
bong.
bong.